Welcome to another episode of Fordify Live, and we are excited today. Today's guest is Betsy Hamm, the CEO of Duck Donuts, because I always like hearing success stories, and I had the opportunity to work with their organization a while back, and I thought, you know what? I want to interview a CEO of a franchise brand that can help explain, why do people become a franchisee, and tell us about your story. So first, welcome to the show, Betsy. How are you today?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me about Duck Donuts. Like, for those of our viewers that are watching this, what is Duck Donuts?
So Duck Donuts is a made-to-order donut concept. So when you walk into a location, you're going to smell donuts, but you're not going to see them. And you're going to go up to the register and someone's going to greet you and you're going to choose your donuts, which means you choose your topping, your drizzle. So you could choose, say, a vanilla icing with Oreo cookie crumbles. You order your donuts. Everything is a vanilla cake donut. And then you get to watch the entire process right in front of you of your donut being fried and then topped. And then we hand you a box of warm, delicious donuts that you chose how to make.
Well, I know people can go on YouTube and they can watch it because it's truly a different experience. And I'm on intermittent fasting. And so it's like, I need to eat some protein before lunch, but I can't wait to get some Duck Donuts. So what inspired you to get involved in franchising in the first place?
It wasn't necessarily intentional. I spent most of my career in hospitality and tourism for about 15 years and was just kind of keeping an eye out for my next opportunity. And a friend of mine had said, hey, Duck Donuts is opening their corporate headquarters in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, which is close to where I live. And to be honest, I had even heard of Duck Donuts. I had never been to the Outer Banks, which is where Duck Donuts started, hence the name. So I was very intrigued when I had talked to my friends who do go to the Outer Banks, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're the best donuts in the world. You have to take this interview. And I'm like, wow, these ladies are very excited about a donut. Like, I definitely have to have a conversation. So went and met with the founder and CEO at the time, and he talked about how they have this amazing brand and product that people who know it love it, and now they're trying to make it a national household name. So as a marketing person, that was a dream come true, to take this brand that had such a great foundation and make it a national household name.
And so how many locations do you guys have now? And I know we talked earlier in the green room about some of the things that you're opening. So how have you grown in the last couple of years?
Sure. So I started with Duck Donuts a little over 6 years ago. And when I started, I was the first outside the friends and family hire. I came in to build the marketing team. And at that time, I think I was employee number 12. And we had 20 shops open in the United States. So fast forward to 6 years, we have over 116 shops open really throughout the country. We're in 22 states. Then we also have international locations. So we are currently open in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and I will be headed to Cairo, Egypt in 2 weeks to open our next international location there.
That's amazing. So along the way, okay, you've been in franchising now for a while, and what are some of the lessons that you've learned leading a franchise brand?
Oh, so many lessons.
Lessons or mistakes, like for the ones that you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming into an emerging brand, at the time they had 20 shops. And of course, there actually was no one with franchising experience at the time. So, as any emerging brand does, we made a lot of mistakes. Everything from bringing in the wrong franchisee, which of course is crucial to the success, is having the right franchisee. So we've made mistakes in franchisee selection. We've made mistakes in location selection. We've made mistakes in the beginning of not necessarily having all of our structure and process in place. And so with that, then of course, there's a lack of consistency. So, I think it was just those growing pains that I believe a lot of brands go through. But not having the structure and process in place really caused a lot of challenges for us because the consistent experience wasn't there across the locations.
Yeah, that's always something in franchising that's, as I've been working in franchising now for 34 years and working with brands of all sizes. And, when I spoke with your group, they always want the franchisee who owns the franchise wants the franchisor to drive the business, right? And the franchisor says, hey, we just want you to follow your systems. And so the first thing you added in all that, systems and everything. And I know that one of the things that you guys are really known for is I'm going to call it a family of franchises, is really upholding the values. So what are some things that you do with your franchisees to ensure that the family follows the integrity and the values of Duck Donuts?
Yeah, that's really important for us, especially because we did start off as a family owned and operated business. So that really attracted a lot of our original franchisees when they came in and sat down with the founder, and his daughter's the director of operations. So, it gave that feeling of this small family run business. So now, of course, we've grown. We've had to come up with a lot more structures and processes, and we've grown the team. But at the end of the day, we want to remain true to our core values, which include delight. And family. Family is one of our core values. So making sure that we're providing the tools and the resources and building that culture. And what we've really been focused on, especially in the last year, is how do we activate our core values, and what are those behaviors behind our core values? Because they're lovely on the wall, they look really pretty, but what are those behaviors that then support that from a delight, from a customer standpoint, or from family? As you know, staffing has been incredibly difficult the last year or two.
Yep.
But our franchisees who have not had as many issues are the ones who have that great culture within their shop, and that goes back to that family behavior, and making the team members feel like they're part of the Duck Donuts culture and family.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So when you do you just take anybody on that has the money for franchise, or what qualities do you really look for in a franchisee?
In the very beginning.
Yeah, well, of course, it's kind of like speakers. It's like I've got my speaking fee. I'm in the Hall of Fame of keynote speaking now. But I remember in the first day, it's like, you got $15 and a chicken dinner. I'm there, right? So I sorry for those people watching this, but so think back to you when you're because you said something like you were planning on opening maybe 40 locations or more this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
As you do that, what is the process you go through to vet a new franchisee? Obviously, they're vetting which brand they want to work with, but you're also very selective in your organization to make sure you have the right type of person who's going to be successful and work with the brand.
Absolutely. And of course it goes, the first step is always the capital and the cash, and that's the check the box. Great. We have the money to do this. And then the second really is, are they a good fit for our company, and for our brand, and can they represent our brand? And, that goes back to the core values and how they are able to represent them, and how they talk about how they're going to run their business, and how are they going to hire their team and engage their team. And the other piece of that we use is we actually use a predictive index assessment, which is a behavioral tool. And there's no right or wrong answer, but through the years of our franchisees, we've built what that ideal profile is of a successful franchisee. You could be an amazing business person, you could be really smart, but there's a certain characteristics and behaviors that there are of a successful franchisee. So finding those behaviors and duplicating them just gives us and them the most likely opportunity to succeed. Yeah,
a lot of organizations, like for me, on ProfitRichResults.com and my website and your website are both listed right here on the screen. I use assessments when I'm as a consultant, because, if someone comes in and they say, we want you to help us grow our franchise brand. Well, first I have to know about their marketing team. I have to understand, are they visionaries or integrators? Can they do the work? What's their experience level? And I have found assessments. And as we've said clearly on this, live broadcast that is strictly for educational purposes only. We are not giving legal advice to anybody or telling you any hiring processes, but assessments are a great tool to help identify key characteristics, and they really do work. So whatever your assessment of choice is, certainly our listeners, if you're working with an organization, you want to improve your staffing, you first have to obviously have clear expectations and a job description. But what are the characteristics, and what are the personality traits, and then what are the job skills? But wouldn't you say hire for attitude and train for skills?
Yes. Yeah, we can teach you how to make a donut. I mean, that's almost the easy part. And, it's donuts and it's coffee and it's ice cream. So it's not complicated. You're not running a huge kitchen. So it's really the people business, right? Like you have to have a team, mostly teenagers a lot of the time, who are running your shop, and you have to deal with customers. So, so much of that is from a people standpoint, because if you do that well, you're going to get the traffic. That's almost the easy part. So yeah, teaching people how to make the donuts, that's easy.
Yeah. The best marketing strategy is a satisfied customer, because all the marketing in the world won't work if they don't have a great customer experience. And I know firsthand from the customer experience at Duck Donuts that it is amazing. So if you haven't tried out the brand, if you're in a city, go to duckdonuts.com, look at the locations. And if you ever get a chance, if you're traveling or if you have one in your city, you definitely should use them. We've used them even for corporate events and catering and for our lunch and learns. So it's a great way to do that. So Thinking about growth. Okay, so you've got the 120, 116 locations. You're going to grow. You're growing at a fast rate. I know you've had some supply chain issues, like a lot of brands. A lot of the brands I talk to, the only thing that's prevented them from growing faster has just been the construction issues, right? Opening up the new stores. On that note, on the ones that are open, what are some strategies and tactics that you're using from a marketing standpoint to get the brand around for the brand?
Yeah, so we have a couple things, of course. So we have a good support. Of course, the job of our franchise group is to support our franchisees and give them all the tools and resources they need in order to succeed. So our team is responsible for the national look and feel of the brand and talking about like LTOs or what's on the menu.
Limited time offers for those people. Limited time offers.
Limited time offers.
Okay, we're good.
Flavors, seasonal flavors. So we're building all those programs, and then we need the franchisees to activate on a local level, because what we can't do is be boots on the ground in their market. And our most successful franchisees are the ones who are involved in their local community, and that could mean something different for each location. If it's being involved with the schools or the PTAs, doing fundraisers, donating product to certain organizations. But those who are really ingrained in the community and are there front and center are the ones that we see the most success with. So giving them the tools and the resources they need in order to do that is where we've been able to see the success, despite all the challenges that have happened, from COVID on to staffing issues. As you mentioned, catering is a really huge part of our business. So building out the programs and the support that goes along the catering or the offsite events.
Well, I am going to do a shameless plug right now, because I've got a new book out that I'm going to send you, and it's called Accelerate, the Ultimate Guide for Franchisees to Maximize Local Marketing and Boost Sales. Now, you didn't know I was going to show this, but this is a book that you can actually send out to your franchisees that actually is in alignment with the brand, because one of the hardest things about having an outside person come in for activating their local marketing is if they're not in alignment or if they don't follow the same values. So I'm going to send you this as a gift. I'll send you a case as a thank you for being on the show today. So thank you for doing that. All right, let's go to the next. What role does technology play in your brand? Now, I know that you have the systems for the delivering the product, but what else? What other technology does your franchise brand utilize now that you're growing so much?
Yeah, so technology is huge and obviously continues to become more important. And at the end of the day, when we talked about that process of coming in and choosing your donuts, that's all great. But that takes some time. So what we've really been focused on the last year or two is how do we utilize technology in order to get product to our customers faster? So of course, online ordering is very important. A loyalty app we launched in 2020. And what we just actually launched a few, weeks or months ago, you could say, is kiosks in shop. So, of course, you've seen these other places. You go in, you don't have to necessarily talk to someone to place your order. You go to the kiosk, you place your order, and then you get your donuts. So we have seen amazing engagement with our kiosks in shop. And I was in our corporate shop a few weeks ago when we launched it. And it was interesting to watch because let's just say probably anyone under the age of 25 who came into the shop could have gone to the cash register where there was no line and somebody was waiting for them, but they went to the kiosk to place the order for
it's behavior.
So, it's like there's somebody right here, but they just, that's, the generation essentially. So that's going to be something that we continue to focus on, is how can we make our product more convenient? How do we get it to people quicker, easier, with less barriers? So we'll certainly continue to utilize technology from that standpoint.
Yeah, it's really about a frictionless experience, isn't it? So, and giving them as many different ways to engage, and having a loyalty app, having them be able to order online. And like you said, they come into the store and there's kiosks, but the human behavior is now they're just conditioned. It's like if you go to the airport, you're checking in and there's people. It's just, so it's really about looking at what you guys have done with a really great brand experience, is really making the whole system frictionless. That's what I really like about your brand. And they're always bright. What would you say, what advice would you give to somebody who's maybe not a franchisee yet, but they're interested in maybe becoming a franchisee? What are some lessons learned or some things that you would speak straight to people who might be considering becoming a franchisee? Not only a Duck Donuts franchisee, but any, Duck Donuts for sure, but then other brands.
Maybe you have to pick another one.
Yeah, you can pick yours too. Pick yours.
obviously for Doug Donuts. I mean, I think it's all the same, right? Like you need to know it's a long-term relationship. This is basically a marriage. I mean, you're signing a 10-year agreement at least. Of course, we want to hope people extend it. So you really need to know, number one, who you're working with and who at headquarters is there and how are they going to support you. And number two, what is your day-to-day going to actually look like? I get a little nervous sometimes when we have franchisees who come in who've never even worked in a restaurant as a high school or college kid. Because in our world, of course, the food industry, it's challenging. I mean, you could have a manager, but someone doesn't show up. You're going to be in there trying to make donuts at 6 o'clock in the morning. So, I think spending time in an operation, I know we've had potential franchisees go and work in shops as they were going through it, because you really need to know, like, what is your day-to-day going to look like? And what does this actually entail? And, have you ever, in our situation, have you ever managed employees? That's something that's very new to people. And again, we're probably talking 16, 17-year-olds, which is a whole other challenge for anybody.
It sure is.
Knows how that is. So, it's really thinking through what the expectation is of the role. And I go back to when I first started at Duck Donuts, and we were still getting those people who were so emphatic about the donut and the brand. They went to the Outer Banks. They had this amazing experience. They wanted to bring it to their hometown. Amazing enthusiasm, amazing excitement. But, maybe didn't think through of like, okay, what does this really mean? What is my day really going to look like? Because you've got to be involved in the brand. Absentee ownership doesn't work. That doesn't mean you're making the donuts every day, but the fact that you're in the shop working with your team, maybe having to stop by to, check on the sprinkles. I had a franchisee say that, he just kind of finds reasons to be there. Right. He's not working a shift. But you really got to know what you're getting yourself into, and what the expectation is of the franchisor, I think, is really important too.
And that's really goes back to the next question, is really about franchise relations, right? So what are some things that you guys do to ensure good communications and great franchise relations between your network, especially as you grow the complications? So what types of things do you meet regularly? Do you have an online training? Like, what types of things do you do with them?
Yeah, so that's huge, of course. And as we've gotten bigger, that becomes more challenging. So some little things, like we send out a weekly newsletter that has everything that they need to know in one spot. So we're not just hitting them with a bunch of newsletters throughout the week. We have an intranet site where everything lives, where all there's resources. If they need to go to the local marketing shop, everything is all just in one spot. We have ongoing communication with them. They have franchise business consultants that they're hearing from on a regular basis. I send out monthly video, just kind of updates of what's going on. We do webinars. We do regional meetings, which is great. We got back to that last year. Right. So we'll pick 5 or 6 markets throughout the country, invite everybody who's in that area to come in and meet in person. Because, we're great and we're really supportive and helpful, but what's also amazing is talking to other franchisees. So having that connection amongst the franchisee community is huge. They're all essentially doing the same thing. So there's lessons to be learned from each other. So we actually on our team put a lady in charge of franchise engagement. So that's her job, is franchise engagement manager. And so she's focused on everything of what that communication is. They just sent out a best practices series yesterday from our franchisees who won some awards at our conference. She also works with our franchise advisory council. So we have a FAC in place that is, sort of the voice of the franchise system, and meeting with us and our team on a regular basis. So there's a lot of tactics essentially that have to occur on an ongoing basis, and communication's tough. Everybody wants stuff differently. Right. But one of our main objectives every year, in addition to, of course, increasing AUVs and increasing profitability of the franchisees, the third one's increasing franchise partner satisfaction. So that's something we take very seriously, big goal at the top, and we have to have, the initiatives and the tactics that support that. But it's an ongoing evolution, I feel, and I think we've made a lot of great progress in the last 2 years essentially, and we'll continue to focus on that because it's, I think, critical to our success. Yeah,
and your growth really shows that. I mean, when I had an opportunity to be at your conference, there's some brands you go to, and in the side they pull you aside and they kind of chit chat about some challenges, but yours was just totally, everybody was so loving the brand. They were glad to get back together again, and it was really fun. So as we'll wrap up, a couple more questions. So what trends do you see for the future? I mean, do you see anything, or is there anything on the future that you're concerned about, or that you're thinking about, that you're trying to forecast and say, okay, we need to be able to navigate these challenges?
Of course, the big thing is the R word, the recession. If it's happening, how's it happening? What does that mean? I mean, the good thing is that you know,
Hey,
the great thing is we're selling donuts, and even during COVID, you know, people still wanted that moment of happiness, and that's one of our taglines that we use is sprinkling happiness. So, you know, making sure we're prepared for that, for the staffing challenges, for supply chain challenges. I mean, I feel like, and I shouldn't say this out loud, I don't want to jinx anything, but like
hypothetically, we'll just say hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically, we've seen a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. So hypothetically, I feel like, you know, a lot of those big issues have been addressed. To the point earlier about technology, I think we need to continue to stay on top of that and be innovative. We're getting ready to launch a shop of the future in a few months. So we've been really involved in that entire process of, you know, what does the shop of the future look like, and what are those technology needs and those customer expectations. So making sure that we're staying on the forefront of all of that as, you know, we look to open 100 shops really in the less than 2 years. So, you know, it's making sure all those things are in line, and we're staying on top of those customer expectations and demands essentially.
Well, I just think this has just been amazing. I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day to jump on Fordify Live and share some of the challenges that Duck Donuts has had, and also the future and the vision. For those of you, you can see her. Let's see if I have a banner here. I think I have a banner. So if you're interested and you want to learn more, you can go to duckdonuts.com and you can check them out. Betsy, thank you so much for being on the show today. Everybody, we meet Wednesdays live at 11 a.m. Central, and this has been Ford Saeks and Betsy Hamm sharing the Duck Donut story for success. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.